Joss Whedon's Buffyverse, a dark mirror of our world, home to countless vampires, monsters, demons, and godlike evils. A world that is perpetually threatened by apocalypse after apocalypse.
Suddenly find myself needing to know the plural of apocalypse.
While the two series within the Buffyverse each offer a variety of big bad villains, entities with the power and will to end the world, they're unconnected from one to the next. They each take their shot, then make way for the next big bad. Which makes you wonder, are the villains really that disorganized?
Did everybody else know the Slayer was a robot?
Or is someone running things behind the scenes?
I'm with Wolfram and Hart.
Is there a true ultimate evil, responsible for all that is wrong with the world?
From beneath you it devours.
Oh, not it. Me.
Enter the powers that be.
I've been sent.
First introduced in Angel, they are presented as a mysterious balancing force, one responsible for lifting champions up to face the evils of the world. The powers grant their servants the guidance and tools they need to beat back the night, or so it appears. The Buffyverse is saturated with evil. Even the champions of goodness are tainted by demonic blood.
What kind of demon is she? There's a lot of different kinds. Some are very, very evil, and some have been considered to be useful members of society.
So it's no surprise that the powers that be are cut from the same cloth. In fact, one of the previously mentioned world-threatening villains claims to be a fallen power.
This frail little power that was has just enough strength in her to wipe out your whole species.
Upon entering the world, she takes the name Jasmine and immediately starts turning humans into blissed-out slaves, with the end goal of turning the whole of humanity into a kind of subservient hive mind.
You're a disease in the body, Jasmine. I see you.
We're meant to assume that the rest of the powers that be are like Jasmine. Basically, they have benevolent intentions.
I truly am sorry, sir. Fact of the matter is, there's nothing I can do.
But they're about as good as you would expect a Lovecraftian god could be.
There are no absolutes. No right and wrong. Haven't you learned anything working for the powers?
Everyone accepts their benevolent intentions at face value.
This must be a mistake. The powers wouldn't do this to me on purpose. I mean, I'm a part of their team.
But that falls apart when you consider one other fact. The entire Buffyverse exists in hell.
You realize what this home office probably is?
I think I have a pretty good idea.
Hell.
This is actually explicitly stated by one of the villains, a Wolfram and Hart lawyer.
Home office, wasn't it? It's rather a long ride. Welcome to the home office.
That line was delivered as a way to crush the morale of one of the power's greatest champions, Angel. Angel eventually shrugs it off, basically ignoring the idea. After all, lawyers lie, especially lawyers working directly for hell. We, the viewers, have a different perspective. Of course the world is hell. Why else would there be demons everywhere? But what if it's more than that? What if the residents of the world are truly damned souls, being punished for an unremembered lifetime of sin? After all, most of the characters in the Buffyverse lead absolutely miserable lives.
We all need a reason to live, even if we're already dead.
Maybe that misery is the real goal of the forces of evil, and the parade of apocalypses is just a bluff to guarantee that those poor souls can't escape the violence and the agony.
Of course, all those people you save from that apocalypse would then have the next one to look forward to, but hey, it's always something, isn't it?
They have no choice but to fight.
You're not slipping out of this fight, girl.
Consider this. Angel spends 100 years within a Cathless hell dimension. His son Connor grew up in another hell dimension called Kortov.
I will take good care of him.
Fred spent 5 years being hunted on Pylea.
Handsome man saved me from the monsters.
Gunn spent an unknowable duration in a Wolfram and Hart holding dimension.
No, please! Please! No! No!
suffering physical and psychological torture. The two series are practically a tour of hell dimensions, especially when you count things like Angel's summer locked in a box at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Then there are all the other awful things that just happen in the supposed real world.
I like your dress.
You took my son! You son of a bitch, you bastard!
This is not a paradise. Okay, so the Buffyverse is hell. How does that make the powers that be the bad guys? Short answer, they're the ones sending champions into the meat grinder with no hope of victory.
You're not gonna win.
Well, no. Of course we aren't. We have no intention of doing anything so prosaic as winning. See, for us, there is no fight. Which is why winning doesn't enter into it. We go on, no matter what.
But there's more to it than that. The powers use visions to communicate with their champions, first through Doyle, then later through Cordelia. The visions are usually agonizing and nightmarish. And inevitably, they direct the champions to face some horrific monster or threat. In short, they inflict a fresh new hell upon our heroes. But Cordelia and Doyle aren't the only people who receive visions. Slayers are also afflicted.
Perhaps there is no trouble coming. The signs could be wrong. It's not as though you've been having the nightmares.
Meaning that the powers are probably influencing Buffy's actions as well. That puts them in a shadowy puppet master role in both series. Then there's Drusilla.
I only dreamed you'd come.
She was born with the gift of visions, presumably granted by the powers again. But she retains her visions when she is turned into a vampire, and uses the visions in the service of evil. Did she somehow find some other source for the visions? Or are the powers playing both sides? The powers mess around with time as well. Once, when Angel gets cured and spends a day as a human. The day ends when Angel goes to the representatives of the powers and asks to be turned back into a champion. They oblige by rewinding time so that he can avoid being cured.
We swallow this day, as though it never happened.
And considering how Angel spent his day off, his request basically roofied Buffy in the process. The powers pull the same trick a second time with Cordelia. They offer her a life as a successful actress instead of a champion. All she has to do is stop caring about people? Again, the timeline is undone when Cordelia chooses to become a champion. It seems like timeline alteration would be the ultimate tool to correct the evil in the world. But instead, they use these timelines as a way to offer agonizing choices to their champions. It's almost like the powers are creating their own hell dimensions rather than alternative destinies. In fact, it's probable that the powers are responsible for at least one hell. It's never explicitly stated, but it's fair to assume that they manage the alternate dimension trials that Angel visits in an attempt to save Darla's life. So, how many other hell dimensions are they running?
Come, he's not screaming in pain.
Oh, he is. My will prevents him from being heard.
But what about the higher planes? Well, after reclaiming her title as champion, Cordelia is invited by the powers to ascend. She takes on an angelic appearance and literally flies into the sky to become a warrior in the setting's equivalent of heaven. This is messed up for two reasons. She is forced to leave at the worst possible time.
I'm in love.
Abandoning Angel at the bottom of the ocean, and leaving the rest of her friends to fend for themselves with no clue where she went. A fresh new torment for everyone. Then when she gets to heaven, she's not there as a reward. She's been drafted as a soldier in a whole new war, only this time without her friends to support her. Sounds a lot more like hell all over again.
You've got to get me out of here, Angel. Please, help me.
Which would explain why Cordelia's guide to the higher planes was another demon. Taken all together, it's clear that the champions are being led by the nose through the worst parts of hell, and that the powers aren't just complicit, they're running things.
Remember, if you'd like to see more content like this, just hit like and subscribe.